What's up, guys? White Sox Daily back again. Another great week here. Hope everyone had a fantastic holiday week. Hope everyone had a fantastic weekend as well. Some more White Sox news. Obviously, still in the midst of winter season here. Free agency going a little bit slowly, but we do have a little bit of White Sox news on the horizon. So let's go ahead and jump right into it. First off, we're going to start things with a bit of an intrigue story here as Pope Leo, once again, obviously a big name here amongst White Sox fan circles. When the first ever Pope from from Southside Chicago ends up becoming a thing, obviously that's going to make a lot of headlines, and he's going to endear himself to the general populace very quickly. And of course, once again, we got more White Sox news coming out of the Vatican as on a recent flight to Turkey over Thanksgiving. The Pope was, doing his usual meet and greet with a lot of journalists. There's a traditional gift exchange that takes place on that flight, and a journalist offered up to the Pope a signed Nellie Fox baseball bat. Hall of Fame second baseman for the White Sox, played primarily back in the 50s when the Pope would have been, in his childhood there. Um, Obviously, formerly known as Robert Provost, a guy who, now in his early 70s, would have been his formative years as a Sox fan, watching Nellie Fox play ball, play some second base there for the Southsiders. He ended up making the quick crack, and he received the thing, and he said, wow, how'd you get this past security? Definitely looked like he was very much uh, into it. He enjoyed the gift. He seems to really be digging all the Chicago stuff and the White Sox stuff that ends up coming up whenever he travels, whenever he meets with fans. It's been one of the funnier aspects of this offseason for Chicago. First ever American Pope. He ends up being a White Sox fan. He ends up being a Chicago sports fan. Lots of fun. Everyone's been having a good time with it. And obviously now they continue that with a big gift, engraved bat signed by Hall of Fame second baseman Nellie Fox. Really cool. Um, Also included in the gifts, he received a photo of himself wearing White Sox gear from the 2005 World Series game that he famously attended. Um, and yeah, it was just kind of a funny story from over the weekend as the Pope was traveling to Turkey for Thanksgiving, ended up receiving the signed bat and some other White Sox related gifts from some of the journalists during that flight. Thought that was rather entertaining. But we're moving on now to some more legitimate actual baseball news here, as the Chicago White Sox being tied to a former big time outfielder. As the Chicago White Sox have proven in recent years that one of their favorite things to do is to kind of go, we're not going to say full-fledged bargain bin diving here, though I mean that's pretty much what they've been doing. One of their favorite things in the world is taking former top 100 prospects that are starting to go in the big decline, and making a deal for those guys, and then just praying it works out and they find a way to get them back to what their potential should have been. Obviously, the most recent example of that, Miguel Vargas coming over in the trade for Eric Fetty. And Vargas played pretty well for us this last season. Not up to top of the line, unbelievable potential standards, but played really solidly, enough that many people believe he's going to be a guy that plays a lot in the infield this coming year, either as the day one starter at third or first base. And another guy now being tied to the Chicago White Sox, another one of those ex high end, big time name prospects from the St. Louis Cardinals, who have begun the essence of a full teardown. The Cardinals look to be in rebuild mode, in full reset mode, and a guy that they might be looking to move here, outfielder Jordan Walker, who was a big time deal as he was coming up. A guy that was putting together some really nice numbers in high A and double A, and then even into triple A before they ended up calling up. He was a first round pick back in 2020 for the Cardinals. He was swinging at a 936 OPS between his minor league stints. Ended up coming up back in 2023 and was pretty solid there. He played 117 games, a majority of the season. He was hitting for 276 and, put 16 home runs over the fence. He was a guy that was really making big time contact when he was making contact, and that kind of became a bit of a weakness of his over the last 2 years, 2024, 2025. A guy that was still making big time contact when he was able to hit the ball, but his whiff rate just went through the roof. He was a guy that was striking out a lot, just swinging and missing all over the place. Bat speed, incredible. A guy with a huge power swing that could really be something the White Sox could use as they look to get younger and get more power bats into this lineup. It's something that they've just lacked in recent years, and this is a guy that can really do some damage when he can hit that ball square. The problem is going to be trying to get him back to that form that made him a promising young prospect in the first place and get that swing to start making contact again with the baseball. 35% whiff rate last season. Probably not the type of thing that's going to keep you up in the major leagues for very long, but obviously this was a dude that was top 10 in the Cardinal system, a top 100 overall prospect not that long ago for a reason. He's a guy with a lot of tools, a lot of potential, and you can see why the White Sox are intrigued by the possibility that the St. Louis Cardinals are looking to maybe get off of Jordan Walker and trade him away as they look to begin a full reset and a full rebuild. Speaking of promising young prospects the White Sox could be targeting, another name here is, obviously, we've run our course talking about all the big free agent names that are just simply not going to happen, all that fun stuff. It's always fun, in November and December to discuss all of our fun fantasy signings, but some stuff that's more in tune with reality here. We talk about Jordan Walker. Another name that has popped up here as the Rule 5 draft is just around the corner. Everyone's made their protections now. And a guy that Chicago is definitely going to show major interest in is the New York Yankees' Brennan Beck, a guy that has been one of their standout pitchers in their minor league system, was not protected by the Yankees. A lot of these projections here I'm currently looking at Sports Mockery's article on it, The Athletic, also linking Beck to the White Sox with that second pick in the Rule 5 draft. A guy that was a big-time prospect coming out of Stanford. They took him in the second round in 2021. He's currently ranked as the Yankees' 11th overall prospect, and the fact that he ended up not being protected by them is a little fascinating, probably for the most part due to the fact that he hasn't spent a great deal of time in AAA yet. He's a guy that's mostly still down in Single A. He's put together nice numbers, and in fact, even last year in the limited amount of action he got in AAA, between Double and AAA, he posted a 3.36 ERA, posted 123 strikeouts, a 1.04 whip. I mean, he was really dealing down there for the Yankees, but just, I guess they figure he's a guy that might just get looked over because he hasn't spent any time up in the majors yet, a guy that has very limited AAA action. It's a risk to take him with that Rule 5 pick because if they don't spend the entire season on your major league roster, he's going right back to the Yankees. So then you just lose that pick altogether. So maybe just playing a game of chicken with some team, thinking there's no way someone's just going to roster him on their major league squad this early in his career for a full year without ever being tempted to send him back down. But Chicago, currently a team that by multiple websites and multiple articles from some insiders that usually have some ears to the ground here, linking him to the Chicago White Sox, who might use that second pick in the upcoming Rule 5 draft on him. So that's something to monitor. Let us know how you'd feel about bringing in Brennan Beck or Jordan Walker, as we previously talked about, down in the comments section as we head to our final story here, as we talk about the Zips article, as they kind of do their projections every single year on how the outlooks of each team is looking. Our team's going up, downward trajectory, things like that. The Chicago White Sox currently projected to potentially gain up to between 10 and 15 wins from last season this coming year. So obviously, even with yet another 100-loss season that we just had back-to-back of those as Chicago White Sox fans, a lot of analysts and a lot of experts from around the league obviously showing some respect to the young core the White Sox have built. Still not projected to be any sort of contender, any sort of team that's supposed to make any noise as far as making a big playoff push, anything like that. Let's temper expectations right off the bat. But a team that is potentially going to just continue to grow as a lot of these young guys continue to get at bats, continue to get out there, get significant playing time, and continue to grow in this White Sox organization. It's looking like brighter horizons just over the edge there. And yeah, let us know how you guys feel about that. Do you think Chicago's in a position to potentially make a 10-win jump this coming season? Let us know how you feel about the 2026 Chicago White Sox in the comments below, and we'll see you guys tomorrow.